to go. Start whenever you want. Let me know.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the CircuitPython Weekly for 28 January 2019. I am Katney, and I am sponsored by Adafruit to work on CircuitPython. CircuitPython is a version of Python that runs on microcontrollers, which are itty bitty little computers that are on circuit boards. It's designed to make learning about electronics and um, about programming to make both of those things super simple and really easy to get into. So we are working to lower the barrier for entry to programming and electronics, and that is what CircuitPython is. So every week we get together and we do a meeting that has multiple parts. The first part is we talk about the state of CircuitPython and the libraries. Um, we discuss sort of statistics and just how things are going in both the core of the project and in the libraries for the project. The second part is hug reports, which we will do as a round robin. I will start as an example, but then we will go around to everyone. Hug reports are a chance to call out someone for doing something great. Um, we like to make sure that everyone gets recognition for doing good things. That's what Hug Reports gives everyone an opportunity to do. The next part will be status updates, where you can talk about for a couple minutes about what you've been doing over the course of the last week since the last meeting, and then discuss what it is you'll be doing between now and the next meeting. This gives everyone an opportunity to talk about what they're going to be doing, but also it gives other people an opportunity to perhaps provide feedback or suggestions or that sort of thing about what it is that you're doing. Um, it's it's a thing that we started really early on as a sync up between the core people who work on CircuitPython. And now it's an opportunity for the community to engage and for us to know what everyone's doing. So that's what status updates will be. And then the very last part we lovingly call In the Weeds, which is where we will put any long form discussions about any sort of topic. If you have any sort of In the Weeds topics, you can feel free to post them into the text chat at any time, and we can get those added and then discuss them at the end. The idea is that if you are watching this later um, and you don't want to listen to any like the longer form discussions that we have, you can listen to the rest of it and then not worry about the end of it. Which brings me to another important thing. This meeting is recorded. We are recording both audio and the text chat. So if you are in the meeting, be aware that we are recording it. We post it later, and that way, if anyone wants to watch it afterwards who couldn't make it, that's an option. And we do take notes, so which will have timestamps. So you can skim through the notes, and perhaps there's something interesting to you, and you'll be able to skip right to that in the video. I think that covers everything. So with that, we will get into the state of CircuitPython in the libraries. So overall, we had 44 pull requests merged, which is great. We had 7 authors and 5 reviewers. We like to call out people who are first-time authors, and this week our first-time author is Melissa Girl, or Maker Melissa. So thank you so much for joining into being a contributor to CircuitPython. That's super great. And we had 9 closed issues by 5 people and 6 open by 6 people. So we're down a little bit overall, which is good. And with that, I will turn it over to Scott to talk about the core.
All right. Thank you, Katney. So in the last week, as of, I believe, last night, we had 21 pull requests merged into the core, which is a lot. That seems higher than I would expect. From 4 authors and 4 reviewers, including Tasm Devil is one of the new folks doing German translations. We have 10 open pull requests, and those are listed in the notes. We had one closed issue by one person and 3 open by 3 people, so we're increasing the number of issues just a little bit. Download stats wise, this is a little out of date. These notes are unstable 4.0 beta 1 or beta 0, and I released beta 1 last night. But while beta 0 was the latest, we had 156 total downloads. If you want to see a breakdown by board and or language, you could check that out in the notes. Stable wise, we had 3.1.2 is our latest stable release, and we've had 2,787 total downloads. And again, if you want to see board breakdowns, you can check the notes for that. And that's it for the core.
Excellent. Thanks, Scott.
Mm-hmm.
So now we'll talk a little bit about the libraries. We had 23 pull requests merged, which is excellent. And once again, thank you to our new author, Melissa Girl. And thank you to our 5 reviewers, which without reviewing, our pull requests did not get merged. So they are as important as the authors to all of us. We currently have 10 open pull requests. We had 8 issues closed by 5 people and 3 open by 3 people. So we're down a little bit, which is excellent. We have 61 open issues. All of these are available in the notes if you're interested in taking a look. As well with the libraries, there is an issue on the CircuitPython repo itself that has similar notes that are much more detailed that cover all the things that are going on with the libraries, all the issues, that sort of thing, and it's all aggregated in one place because the libraries themselves are obviously across multiple repos. So if you're interested in contributing or getting started, working on the libraries is an excellent way to get into things. So the rest of the notes cover just issues that are on the actual repos. Some of these things are stuff that other people can work on, and other things are just things we have to fix. So if you want more details, check out the issue that's on the CircuitPython repo, because it has every single one of these things listed out instead of them being collapsed in the current notes. And with that, that is the state of CircuitPython. So now we'll move on to Hug reports. So once again, Hug reports are a chance to call out other people for good things. I will start as an example, and then we will go down the list. There are a couple, if anybody entered any notes that is not available, or not in the meeting rather, we'll read them out as we go. And if you're lurking, we will skip over you, so just go ahead and let us know if you're lurking. So I will get started. I wanted to give a hug report to Carter for helping me test the PN532 on Raspberry Pi. That was incredibly helpful. Carter tested the library, tested all the possible ways of using that board, found some issues, but was able to give me all of the pinouts, and I needed to update the guide, so that was super helpful. I want to give a hug report to Maker Melissa for starting to go through the library issues and fixing them. That's fantastic. And for keeping up with the releases on the library she's updating, also fantastic, because we like to make sure that the releases are up to date. So thank you very much for doing that. And I want to give a shout out to K-Town for helping me get started in Eagle. I will be making my first Eagle part soon, and Kevin was helping me get started with that. So that is my hug reports. Next up, we have Maker Melissa.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can.
Perfect. I'm using a new microphone, so.
Nice.
I wanted to give a hug report to Katney for helping with integrating my library into the bundle and getting me started with working on library issues. And I wanted to give a hug report to Dan H. for being on top of reviewing the Fram library changes I made. Also, I just changed my GitHub user account to Maker Melissa, so it shouldn't be as confusing anymore.
Oh, excellent. Good to know. All right. Next up, we have Sean Heimel, who is lurking with no mic for this meeting, but put in some hug reports in the notes, so I'm going to read those off. Hug report to Lady Ada for merging my pull requests so quickly. and a hug report to Sedacious for helping me figure out how to sync submodules. All right, next up, we also have some more notes for people who are not in the meeting, so I will read these off. These are hug reports from Sedacious, Tan, Newt, and Carter for help and encouragement with working on-disk bitmap, to Diastles for a sweet guide on extending CircuitPython, and to Dan H for a sweet CircuitPython demo. Next up, we have Summersoft. Summersoft put notes in the notes, so I will read those. There we go. I will read those off. Jerry N for IDing, and Maker Melissa for fixing the FRAM address issues. Sean Heimel for continuing to add the Spark Fun boards, and Group Hug to cover all the things I'm forgetting. All right, Scott.
Hello. So first and foremost, I wanted to say thank you to Damien for the releasing of MicroPython 1.10. I'm very excited about that. I was already trying to brainstorm when we'll pick that up. You won't see it before 4.0, but I think maybe what we'll do is we'll do 4.0, merge in 110, and call it 4.1. Do just like a release candidate to make sure it's all hunky-dory.
Nice.
So that should be good. And then I wanted to give a shout out to Matty T for the Melbourne MicroPython meetup videos. He runs MicroPython meetup that happens every month, which is where Damien lives. So it's kind of that like inner circle of MicroPython folks, and he always does a really good overview presentation of like what he sees in the world of hardware and MicroPython and CircuitPython. So those videos are great, and he just posted November's and January's as well, so those are great. So thanks to Maddie for being an advocate for MicroPython in general. I wanted to say shout out to Katney for the closer look that she gave to the CircuitPython 2019 post. I went over that stuff last night. Really appreciate the second look. Thank you to Nick Zoic for the touch support on NRF. We were actually just talking about this in our previous meeting, and it's more general than NRF as well. So that'll be really good baseline touch support for all of the ports, which is really cool. And then lastly, I just wanted to shout out Roy. I don't remember if I did last week, but we just merged into Pixel Bus support, which is really exciting for native, like just increasing the speed of NeoPixel animations and stuff. So huge thank you to Roy for his persistence in that PR. It lasted way longer than I like PRs to, but it's finally done and it's finally checked in. So congrats to Roy on that. Really looking forward to seeing that fully come to fruition. So those are my hug reports.
Excellent. Thanks, Scott. All right, TG Techie.
Just a group hug for this week, with a special hug for Scott for merging in my fixes to my mistakes I made.
All right, excellent. So let me take a look here. We have next up is Brent.
Hug report to Jerry for spotting an issue in a guide I released. Got it fixed, and there were some other guides that were impacted by it.
Excellent. All right, we have a lot of lurking, and that gets us to Dan.
Hi. So try to find the mute button. Thanks to Jerry for, as soon as I published the libraries and the pull request on BLE, he tested it right away. And interestingly, he found out that it didn't work with his newer and an Android phone. So we were able to work together on that. I passed him some proposed tests, and he fixed it. He tested them and they worked, and we got fixes in right away. And thanks to Scott for reviewing all the BLE changes that went in last week all at once. And also, hooray for Maker Melissa for jumping in with both feet on writing drivers. Job so far. That's terrific.
For sure. All right. Okay. Thanks, Dan. Next up is Jerry.
Again, thanks also back to Dan and all the great updates for the BLE support. It's really coming along fast. And thanks to Maker Melissa for that fix to the Fram library. It looked like it was going to be a trivial little thing, and then turned into be quite a project. Nice job on that. And Brent and Katney for the RFM bonnet guide. That's came in really handy, and those are fun to play with. Also, Sean Heimel, I'm really glad to see the official port to some of those SparkCon boards. I've had one of those original Spark Sanity 21 boards for a long time, and I kept loading the Arduino Zero build to it, and it sort of worked, but it's really nice to have an official build for it. And everybody else, congratulations on Beta 4. It's really a big step.
Thanks. All right, and that is Hug Reports. Next up is status updates. Again, status updates is where we'll talk for a couple minutes about what we've been doing over the course of the week and what we plan to do over the course of the following week. And it gives everybody a chance to sort of provide any sort of suggestions or information or help on what everyone's doing, and as well just gives everyone a chance to connect and know what everyone else is up to. I will start, and we will be going again down the list alphabetically, and I will read off people who are not in the meeting as we go. So last week we finished updating Cookie Cutter. So please take a look at the guide for updated information on running Cookie Cutter the next time you run it. There is more information required. However, it does make a lot less work later. So you'll want to take a look. The guide's been updated to reflect what each thing is and what you need to enter for it. If you find any bugs, please let us know, because we tested it, but obviously there's still the opportunity. I updated the PN 532 guide for the CircuitPython and Python usage. The Prop Maker Featherwing guide and the Radio Bonnet guides are both finished and published. I helped Maker Melissa get her library released and into the bundle. Again, great job with that. Created another fritzing object. We added Adafruit to the Discord open source listing. The PR was merged, and we're waiting on getting added to the page itself. I can't remember if AMPI was deprecated last week or this week, but it has been handed over to a community member for future maintenance, which is amazing. And there's probably more I'm forgetting or conflating with the week before. So this week is primarily I will be making my first part in Eagle, which is going to be an adventure. Today is Library Monday, as always, so I'll be going through and making sure that everything is set with that, and helping anybody with any questions, that sort of thing. And then later this week, we're going to be doing a Getting Started with BLE and CircuitPython guide that has quick examples to do various things with CircuitPython and BLE. There's not a lot of documentation out yet on it, obviously, because it's still brand new. So we are aiming to change that. And that is my status update. Next up, Lady Ada.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can.
Yay! Okay, this worked. Status update this weekend. I spent a bunch of time working on ESP32 as a Wi-Fi coprocessor, but using SPI instead of UART, and it works like really well. I'm using the Arduino written SPI Nina firmware, and yeah, it's like super fast and very stable, and you can get data, and it uses actually a lot less memory because you're not caching huge UART chunks of data. Mm-hmm. So check that out if you have ESP32 module you'd like to try as a coprocessor. It will not work on the Particle Argon because they only have the UART pins connected. I also designed a bunch of hardware. We have a Metro M4 Express Wi-Fi, so it's a Metro M4 Express, you know, and love, but I kind of shoved things around and stuck an ESP32 on there. So you could use this code that I just wrote and maybe make some internet connected CircuitPython stuff. This is kind of with the goal of 5.0 will be our kind of maybe Wi-Fi internet themed release. just like 4.0 is Bluetooth. Maybe we'll do like a Wi-Fi, like solid release in 5. I also designed an NR52 840 Metro and NR52 840 Itsy Bitsy. Check that out in the leaks. We leaked it. There's no hardware yet. And yeah, mostly it was just this ESP32 stuff that I've been hacking on. I'm also going to have Kattni, as she mentioned, do some Eagle Cats. We'll get some cool new sensors into manufacturing design. Helga 10's like, what's your Helga port? Well, thanks, Scott, for all the great graphic stuff, because I've been using it all weekend. It's been nice and solid. Brent has just written some great guides. Thank you, Carter, for Arduino library help and support. Dan, who has got the Bluefruit Connect app working with NR52 840, which is amazing. And Maker Melissa for the RA8875 library. Amazing. Thank you for doing that. I would not have gotten to it, but I think it's cool that we're having more and more display stuff available and in the works. And Kattni for taking a lot off my plate. She never says no to learning new things, which is amazing. I learned fritzing last week and is learning EagleCAD this week. Before you know it, we'll have you designing rockets.
All right.
That's my news and hugs.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. All right, next is Maker Melissa.
Okay, last week I got the RA8875 library released and integrated into the bundle. I completed fixing a couple issues on the frame library. It was originally because the max size was the highest amount, and there ended up being some other bugs I found while testing that. And also I started in on the Featherwing library, and this week I'm going to continue working on that and adding some new boards, and if I finish that up, I'll focus on some other library issues.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing that. All right. So I've got a few people to read off now. First one is Phil, PT, who has updated awesome CircuitPython. Please do PRs for updates to keep it current. Link is in the notes. Every one of these has a link in the notes. If you want to help update awesome CircuitPython list, add any cool new CircuitPython stuff that we are doing or that you find, that would be great. The newsletter is in draft. It's the biggest one yet. Contributions are welcome each week. Again, that is on GitHub, and so if you want to do a PR to it anytime during the week, please do. If you find something CircuitPython or you're doing something CircuitPython that you think is cool, we would love to know about it. Basically, we go through and we put all kinds of projects and sort of things that we see people doing throughout the week. It's Python for microcontrollers overall. So if any kind of Python happening on hardware, feel free to do a PR for that. The CircuitPython Reddit community is taking off. If you're on Reddit, please join up. And lots of new updates and art in the CircuitPython art folder. It's hosted on Dropbox, so if you're looking for any kind of graphics related to CircuitPython, take a look at that. Next up is Sean Heimel, who has no mic, who this week added SparkFun SAMD21 dev board and also added the SparkFun SAMD21 dev and mini boards to Moo editor. PR checks out, waiting for merge. Excellent. And then next we have Sedacious. Last week, guide work with a side of on-disk bitmap. This week, finishing guide, new ESP-ish CircuitPython module, adding display I/O and testing my M4 boards, and testing the breakout I finished a while back. All right, and next up is Summersoft. Last week, minor cookie cutter tweaks. For Adabot, tabulated core download stats reduces section length by 16 lines. Started work to mitigate intermittent Travis cron failures with the library report. On frequency in, still fighting both accurate event counting and associated logic and math. Apologies for the incoherent status update on this last week. This week, frequency in, And with Adabot, finish the cron failures mitigation and work on new line issue for Google Docs transcription. All right, next up is Scott.
Hello. I was just like, I got down here. I was like, oh wait, I never wrote anything in the notes. But let me think. Last night I did 4.0 beta 1. As Dan was talking about, Jerry found some issues with the BLE stuff that they got promptly fixed right after beta 0 went out. I actually fixed a bug in display IO's color handling as well at that time. So the newsletter goes out tomorrow, and we were going to have a section on the beta release, and I just couldn't get myself to encourage people to use beta 0, so I released beta 1 because it has those fixes in it. Really do want to get to the point where we're releasing it once a week for a while here as we're bug hunting. I went heads down last week on terminal work, so actually making CircuitPython show the REPL, like the serial output to displays after they're hooked up, is really handy, just as a way to see what your code is outputting. If you take over the display, obviously it won't show what the terminal is showing, but the moment that your code stops running, it will basically give it back to the CircuitPython terminal and show the output. So if people want to test that, let me know. It's not checked in yet. What I'm going to do at the start of this week is polish it up so that kind of all of the minimal things work, and then I'll get it checked in and people can try it. It's going to be really cool for any devices that we release that have built-in displays, because you'll just start it up. If you do your like little print hello world, like it'll actually go to the display just by default.
Very cool.
Yeah, so I'm curious to see what people think of that. It's very slow at this point, but it's still kind of cool. And then the other thing is that thank you to everybody for the CircuitPython 2019 posts. I've went through the feedback that I got on the aggregate doc, or the aggregate blog post, and we'll be posting that today as well. So that will be done and in the newsletter for tomorrow as well. So I think that's it. Once the terminal stuff is done, I want to focus on bug fixing for 4.0. So, and then I was also considering, there's this heap bug, and I was thinking about actually doing it as a live stream. So if people want me to like live stream like 3-4 hours maybe working on this pretty like detailed low level bug, let me know. And we can figure out a time maybe later this week, early next week after the terminal stuff's wrapped up. But I don't know. I think it could be kind of interesting, and I kind of feel like live streaming. So yeah, already got one yes. So if anybody else wants to see that, let me know, and we'll figure out what time works for you. So that's me. That's what I'm thinking about.
Excellent. Thanks, Scott.
Mm-hmm.
All right, TG Techie, what is your status update?
So this past week, I've been working on the hardware for my tricorder. I made a large number of mistakes in the motherboard, but other than that, most of the boards seem to be working. So it's kind of like the soldered version of a wire-wrapped board on the inside right now. But I'm actually holding it in my hand right now. It's booted up, running a GUI, and it's not plugged into anything. And it has a sensor on it. It's surreal that 2.5 years ago, it didn't exist, and now it does. And I really couldn't have done it without CircuitPython.
Excellent.
So that's what I've done. I also ported 2048 to it from one of my friends' 2048 Python code. So that's been a treat. And my goal for this week is to completely rewrite the GUI in 1 week. It's a challenge, but I've come up with a couple of ways where I think I could make it a lot easier to use and more straightforward and less memory intensive. So that's my goal.
Excellent. Sounds great.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up is Brent.
Whoa, that was a lot of text. Okay, cool. Last week, we released all of the variations of the LoRaWAN. We were running the RFM 96, RFM 69, European frequencies, United States frequencies. They're CircuitPython powered. I have a guide out for using them with LoRaWAN. If you can't afford a $200 LoRaWAN gateway, you can use it, powered by CircuitPython again. Wrote up a guide last week on building, if you're building your own Blinka board or you brick your CircuitPython board, you can flash the bootloader back to the board and then drag into UF2. And this week, starting up the second semester of grad school, excited about that. And writing another CircuitPython LoRaWAN guide. This one's going to take multiple feathers running the RFM9X library and talk to the radio bonnet, using the radio bonnet as a gateway, and then it will exfiltrate the data to Adafruit IO so you could visualize the data. And it's like a CircuitPython network.
Wow. Sounds cool. Looking forward to that.
Well, me too.
All right, excellent. Thanks, Brent.
Thank you.
Next up is Dan.
Okay, so last week, as I mentioned, we put BLE IO into CircuitPython, and I released a couple of helper libraries to help you use the Bluefruit LE Connect app, Android and iOS, and then updated those and fixed them a couple of times and fixed some bugs in BLE IO, and those fixes are now in beta 1. As I mentioned, Jerry found some problems with iPhone 7s or his iPhone 7, but not 6. And it turns out there's actually a hardware difference in the Bluetooth hardware between 6 and 7. And there's a software difference, and we had to fix that. But it's all fine now. And then I built this extremely quick 90-minute of how to use the Bluefruit Connect app to use BLE and CircuitPython, and showed it on Show and Tell, and I'm writing up a guide for that.
That was amazing.
I usually think about these things like before I get out of bed in the morning, and then kind of plan it, and then it works. Sometimes it doesn't, but this time it did. There's still some various late outstanding bugs. It turns out that you can't use the BLE IO if you're not connected to USB, which is sort of strange, and we'd like to fix that. And so TAC is working on that. It's a conflict between library and the soft device library, which we in the NRF chips.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be for the rest of the week to get all this stuff working and write up the guide and so forth. Okay.
Sounds good. Thanks, Dan. Next up is Jerry.
Yeah, well, as reported, I spent a bunch of time last week playing with the BLE stuff and having a lot of fun with it. And the BLE, the Bluefruit Connect app is really, really nice to be able to use with it. Just makes connecting things pretty simple and easy to test. But also just the other little pieces are starting to make a lot more sense to me now, and being able to play with the different beacons and things like that. So it's really nice to have that working. Found a little bug in the ESP-AT control stuff, fixed that. That was a interesting thing, came out of a Discord question. Just a difference between the ESP32 and the 8266, the way they respond to some of the commands. And then I've also been playing with running the ESP-AT control stuff on a Feather NRF 52840, and with an ESP32, it's working really well. Nice. I've been finding that the NRF boards interact much more cleanly with the ESP32 and the 8266 than the M4 boards do for some reason. It just seems to be, at least for me, I'm getting a lot better response that way.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know if it's something different in the UARTs or what, but and then spent a bunch of time playing with the RFM 9X bonnet on the RPI. Thanks for getting that out. That's really been nice to have, and that's my next project this week, is to get some radio projects actually up and running and working. Got one going now, monitoring the temperature in a conduit in my house that froze up on us last week, realizing that I need to keep it warmer. So it's nice to be able to keep an eye on it. It's working really well. And also plan to spend a bunch of time doing BLE stuff.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And that is status updates. So last up, we have In the Weeds. This is where we have any long discussions. If you have any concepts or things you want to talk about, please put them in the text chat and we will add them to the notes. And then when we get to them, we will talk about them. That way we're not waiting around. So if we reach the end of it and no one else has posted, we'll know that we're good to go. So the first thing we have in the weeds is Pycon in-person meetups, and that is Scott who posted that. Would you like to talk about it?
Yeah, I just I think we're starting to plan the events that we're going to go to this year, at least in the first half of the year. And I want to encourage everybody who is on these calls or is interested in CircuitPython to try and sync up with us and actually meet up at one of these conferences. Personally, I will be at PyCascades in Seattle, which is at the end of February. And then PyCon is in Cleveland at the start of May. I will be there as well. And then I was looking at doing Teardown in Portland in June. I am really excited about that, and they overlapped with PyCon last year. But this year they don't. So I just wanted to encourage everybody, if you're interested in meeting up and having a couple days to hang out and just get to know each other and talk CircuitPython and everything else, check out those dates, and we'd love to see you there. And if you need to, if you're interested but may not be able to swing it financially, talk with us and maybe we could help you out. So let us know, and we can see what we can do. Because we value everybody in this community, and getting together would be really cool. So, reach out to us if time is not the issue, because we can't really give you time. If there's other issues that we can help with, let us know, and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, and Dan and I will also be at PyCon for sure. So you can reach out to any one of us. We are starting to plan it now, so it's a good time to talk about it.
Mm-hmm. And if you have any other events that you go to that we may not be at, but need support in some way that way, or just want to try to arrange people to meet up there, let us know too.
Yeah, absolutely. Any opportunity that we can take advantage of to meet up is excellent. We have done it at other events, and it's always been an excellent situation, I think. So, all right.
Yep, that's all I have.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Nobody else has any other in the weeds. So I think we're good to go, and I think we'll go ahead and wrap up. This has been the CircuitPython Weekly for the 28th of January, 2019. We are available all week in the CircuitPython Discord channel. If you're interested in chatting with us, feel free to come find us. That's adafru.it/discord. Join up and come and chat. We are there all week talking about dev stuff, helping people out with issues, any sort of thing. And every week we have this meeting. It is in the CircuitPython audio chat, which is also on Discord. So again, if you're watching this later and you're interested in being a part of this, please join us. We would love to have you. And with that, I will say thank you to everyone who joined us, and thank you to all of our lurkers as well. We are always happy to have as many people listening in as possible. So thank you to everyone for participating, and we will see you next week.
Bye, everybody. Waiting for the people who are typing. Ah, Deshipu says if you're going to FOSDEM, reach out to him. He'll be there. All right, bye.